Hi, we're looking at an IMA3303 master station. The idea for this video came out of a conversation I had with a potential customer. His name was Donald. And Donald lives in Indiana. Donald is an electrician or an electrical contractor. I'm not quite sure on that. I think he's an electrical contractor. He filled out our online repair request form, and I'm going to cover up his information here, about his 3303. This is back in the middle of March of 2022. What he wrote on when he filled out the online form is he has an IM3303, basically the same as this. It was installed around 2000. He has 5 inside stations, 1 door station, 1 patio station. It does have a chime module, and the condition of the system when he filled out the form was the clock worked, the door chime did not work, the radio did not play, the intercom does not work, it's not completely dead because the clock's lit up. Problem started 2 weeks ago, it happened suddenly, and his comments that he included were, he watched videos, etc., disconnected ribbon connectors and did several resets with no results. The tuner seems to be okay, but I have static on the speakers, seem to be related to the system volume, possibly. Which is more information than I get sometimes. So like everyone who fills out an online form, I gave Donald a call to talk to him about it. And he sort of replayed all that information to me, and I always tell people on the phone, be prepared, because I'm the guy who asks lots of questions. People often know more than they think they know because, like they say, you don't know what you don't know. In asking a lot of questions and getting some background as to what was going on, the thing I found out was, prior to the 2 weeks ago when the problem first occurred, Donald opened up the master station because they were painting the room where the master station is located, and he didn't want to paint around the master, he wanted to paint behind it. Good on Donald, that's the right way to do it. And everything worked fine before he opened it up. And then when he was done painting the next day, he went to close it back up, and that's when all of the problems were first observed. Now, I am entirely what may be referred to as a cause and effect guy. When something goes wrong following something that someone did, usually for whatever reason, those two things are related somehow. So Donald had a perfectly working 3303 system. He opened up the 3303 system to paint the walls. Then he closed back up the 3303 systems, and for the most part, other than the clock, nothing worked. You think those two things are related? I do. Now, Donald was all ready to pull the system out altogether and pack it up and send it off from Indiana to Tennessee to pay me a bunch of money to work on it and fix it, because he was pretty sure that he blew something up. Now, I wasn't sure of that at all, because 3303s, in fact, all NuTone intercom systems, they're very robust. Well, there's a couple models not as robust, but for the most part, they're 99% all pretty robust. And when guys like me who have experience go out and do service calls in people's houses, we don't turn things off. We work on everything live because that's the way we learn to do it, and it's more efficient. And you're not going to break an intercom by unhooking wires on a service call if you're a little bit careful. So no, I don't think it was needed to come from Indiana to us. I think that something happened at the house. His 3303 is powered by 2 low voltage transformers, just like these. These are NuTone 301T. They're each 16 volts AC, not DC, and they're each rated at 30 watts, or for modern people, 30 VA. That's what he has in the wall behind his 3303. We're going to move these out of the way, because this 3303 is powered up by my bench power supplies, which are up there on the shelf, because for the purposes of this video, it makes my life easier and it doesn't make any difference in what we're going to be doing. I told him, based on what he had told me, that there was a couple easy things that he should check for to make sure that it's not something simple. Now, this was his set, and it was on the wall and it played great. He opened it up like this to paint the wall. The terminal board would be in the wall housing behind it like this, and then he closed it back up and things didn't work. So what could have gone wrong? Well, one of the things that could have gone wrong, one 301T, second 301T, there are 2 sets of power leads, one here and one here. One is long, one is short. The short one goes to the transformer on the left, the long one goes to the transformer on the right. Maybe when he opened up the set, maybe one of the screws on the transformer wasn't tight all the way, maybe one of the wires came out from underneath the screw. Or the other thing which happens, it comes up actually quite often on 3303s because people don't understand, is they create a problem for themselves where these wires go down and get attached to this board. In this close-up shot, we're looking at where those long and short transformer wires I just showed you, the short one gets connected to the left transformer and the long one gets connected to the right transformer. This is where those sets of wires are attached to the main circuit board. This is in the lower left-hand corner of the main board. That's standing in front of the set looking down onto it. You see the white wire and the white wire with the blue stripe, same thing on this one, and they go into these little white connectors here. Now, these are not plug-in connectors. These are little push-in connectors, and they're actually soldered to the circuit board on the other side where you can't see. Lots of times, and we get a lot of 3303s in for repair, people think these are plug-in connectors, and they pull and pull and pull and pull until they rip them off the board, and that's not good. Now, on some 3303s, as more often IMA3303s than the IMs, sometimes the soldering of these connections is a little on the dodgy side underneath. They're not soldered really well, and you can have a loose connection, and that's the same thing as disconnecting the actual wire from the transformer. If you look carefully on these, you might be able to see there's this sort of green goo stuff here and here. That's an adhesive that was applied when these were temporarily plugged into the board when this was being manufactured to help hold them in place until it went through the automated soldering machine to make sure they didn't fall off. So that could be a problem, and in opening and closing the set, these might have gotten tugged on because the wires are not super long, and if they had a dodgy solder joint, then maybe it got worse and you lost one of the connections. So I gave Donald some things to check. The first thing I told Donald to check was, I asked him, do you have a multimeter? Now, he's an electrician or an electrical contractor, and he should have a multimeter. And he said, yeah, I do. It's out in my truck. I said, good. Though you should get it. And the first thing you should do is you should check each transformer and make sure that they're actually putting out 16 volts AC, not DC, and make sure they're both working. Then check and make sure that the little wires that come from the master station are actually attached to the screws on the transformer. Then, if all of that looks good, then come down here to where the connectors are soldered onto the board and observe the set. Try to turn the radio on as you carefully and deliberately jiggle them around to see if maybe you have a bad solder joint, because I think it's something like that. Now, he was not that believing in all that. He thought it was a big problem. He had that pretty well set in his mind, and he's like, okay, he's going to humor me and do what I say, but you could just tell in the way he was talking that he didn't expect to find anything like that. He got back to me in an email a day later, and what he said he found was one of the two transformers. This one had 16 volts, this one had 0 volts. The transformer had failed. Then he wanted to know what size transformer he needed, and I told him he didn't have one of those. I didn't hear anything back, so he didn't get it from me, but he must have bought one somewhere, probably down at the local hardware store or home improvement center, because it's not a hard transformer to find. I assume everything's okay now because that was the end of dealing with Donald. So what's the point of this video? The point of this video is that you gotta check things out. You have to do, one of the things I tell people on the phone is when you're trying to diagnose a problem is you have to do the simple things first. You know, the fellow who taught me a lot about troubleshooting, he used to say, when you hear hoofbeats, think horses, not zebras. Now, you're all thinking, what the hell does that mean? Okay, what that means is that if you hear hoofbeats, horses are common, zebras are pretty exotic. When was the last time you saw a herd of zebras running around your neighborhood? Okay, probably not ever. So when you hear hoofbeats, you should be thinking horses. So you should be thinking about what's common and ordinary, not what's exotic. Field guys, guys that go out to people's houses, guys that work on things, they always want everything to be exotic. Why? I don't know. Exotic is more exciting. It's out of the ordinary. It's something different. It's not the same old that you fixed a million times before. But that's a rabbit hole you don't need to go down. You need to go look at the simple things first, because usually most problems are actually pretty simple. So we're going to leave Donald's story for a minute, and now we're going to jump to something else that's related. So I'm going to take the two 301Ts and put them aside because we're done with those for the moment. One of the other things that comes up when I talk to people on the phone is people call me with all kinds of weird problems with their intercoms that were created by weird situations, and they want to know if the weird situation is what caused the problem. Okay, and lots of times I don't know. That's like asking me, my 6-year-old took an 8-ounce cup of Kool-Aid and poured it into my DVD player or my Blu-ray player, and now the Blu-ray player doesn't work. Do you think it was the Kool-Aid? Well, yeah, probably. Oh, well, what do you think happened to it? What do you think it'll take to fix it? I don't know. You know, I never fixed a Blu-ray player with Kool-Aid poured in it before. And the same thing is true, you know, you can speak generally about the fact that you pour liquid into electronics is going to cause a problem, but I can't tell you exactly what happened and what blew up and why it doesn't work. I don't know. It's too weird. If you tell me that your house, the tree in front of your house got hit by lightning during a storm and 13 different electronic devices in your house blew up, including the intercom, I can tell you it was probably the lightning, but I can't tell you specifically what parts blew up because it's very random and you don't know. It varies from set to set. Now, there are problems that are ordinary problems, and the basic idea behind the way we do things here is every model that NuTone has ever made, I don't care which one it is, has the 10 most common things that go wrong. And those 10 most common things, which change over time as sets get older, encompass probably 95% of all the sets that we see come through and the problems that they have. And if you do enough of them, it becomes ordinary and common, and they are unremarkable repairs. Then you have the other 5%. The other 5% are the sets that weird, unusual things happen to, or people do things to them and they blow them up or damage them further or cause the problem. And those are the ones you can't really tell what's exactly wrong and what's it actually going to take to fix it until you actually get it on the workbench to take a look at it. I talked to a fellow this week. This is April of 2022. He had a 4406. He said he thought it had a failing voltage regulator in the power module. He ordered a voltage regulator from someplace online. He attempted to install it. He created a solder bridge of some kind or another when he did that, and when he turned it back on, the voltage regulator actually smoked, exploded, and the whole set went dead. And he wants to know, what do you think I did to it? I said, I don't know, you broke it. You blew it up. You let the smoke out. I can't tell you exactly what failed and all of that exactly because it's not an ordinary thing. He's in that 5%. So let's talk about 3303. We're going to go back to Donald for a second. So Donald had a pretty easy problem. He had a failed transformer. So we're going to bring our 301Ts back, because one of the things that I've observed over the last, say, 20 years or 25 years with 3303s is, for some strange unknown reason, that typically one of the two 301Ts that power the master station will die. Why? I don't know. It's not as if there's a problem with the 3303s that's overloading the transformer necessarily. It could be what I call a stack-up problem. It could be that maybe the transformer, the one that died, maybe it wasn't quite up to par. There was some little something about the way it was made. And then it is true that the 3303 does use more power from one transformer than the other. So it could be that the extra demand on the moderately dodgy transformer from when it was made is what caused it to go dead. But it's hard to prove any of that. It's just sort of observation and so on. It's not a big enough problem to be overly concerned about it, but it is something that I've observed over time that could be a coincidence of why Donald's transformer had died. Sometimes the other thing that happens is Donald's set, even though he said it all worked correctly, you have to take all of that with a grain of salt because a lot of people say that. The other thing is, a lot of times when I talk to people, what comes up that I sort of get out of the conversation is they have an intercom system, they really don't use it very much, and now for some reason they need to make sure that it works correctly, and they've noticed a problem. That problem didn't start on the day they noticed it. That problem may have started years before, but they never used the system, so they don't know. So let's go back to Donald for a minute. In my conversation with him, there was the first conversation, I believe, he asked me very directly, what happens to a 3303 system? How does it operate or not operate if one of the two transformers is not connected, failed, something happened to it, and it's only being powered by one? And that's a really good question, but that's a 5% question because I don't know exactly. I've never sat up a 3303 system and powered it from one and then the other transformer and tested it to see what happens, because why would I do that? It needs two transformers. They both need to work, and that's the requirement. And you know, I suppose I could also get my Blu-ray player and pour Kool-Aid in it and then do all kinds of diagnostics diagnostics on it to see what actually went wrong, but why would I want to do that? Because I'm not going to pour Kool-Aid in my Blu-ray player. So weird things happen, and you can't know the answer to everything that's weird that happens when people ask, because why would I have tested that? I don't know. But today, just out of curiosity, we're going to actually figure it out. Here's the setup. We have a newly repaired 3303 master station. This is an IMA. It was probably made sometime around 2006 or 7, I would guess. It came in for a normal amplifier rebuild kind of thing. It's all fully functional, works great. It's being powered by my 2 bench power supplies that I use on all repairs because it makes my life easier. It's connected to a standard 3303 terminal board. It has 1 inside remote speaker. It has 1 front door station, and it has a chime module with a push button for the front door. And just to show you that it works, we'll turn the radio on. Music plays. Can't play it too long, copyright and all that. Door talk, there will be feedback, so get ready. Door talk. Inside patio talk. End call from the remote, door talk. Inside patio. Okay, fully functional. Everything works great. Play the music, ring the doorbell. Works perfectly, just as I would expect it to. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn off first the left transformer, the one that would be over here, the one with the short blue and white wire. So I'm going to turn it off up here on the power supply. That transformer is turned off, and as you probably can see, the clock is still lit up. So if you lose the left-hand transformer, the clock's going to stay on. And you're going to walk by it in the morning when you get up to go have your Wheaties, and you're going to look at it and think, oh, it's 1:24, and why am I up so early? Anyway, so that's on, so that's good. Let's see if we can play the radio. Radio turned on, the FM light came on. It switched the display to the last station we listened to. However, we have no sound. Okay, now let's try the intercom. We'll turn the radio off. We'll try the intercom. You can hear the relays click, but no sound transmission. Same thing for inside patio, probably nothing. And from the remote station, listen for the relay. No sound. So if you lose the left-hand transformer or the connection to the left-hand transformer on an IM or IMA3303, you have a system that for all intents and purposes seems to function correctly, but you have no sound. Oh wait, we gotta try the doorbell. No sound. And I don't know if you heard it, I'll do it again in a second. Listen for the relay. Clicked off. Listen for the relay. You heard the relay click. That's the microprocessor opening up an audio channel to let the sounds from the chime module ring through the system. So the circuit was opened, but there's no audio. So that's what you get. You have a system that for all intents and purposes seemed to work correctly, but it doesn't. Let's try one more thing. No, I thought I saw a red LED light flash, but maybe just the way the light caught it. We'll wait for the chime module to stop its thing. All right, so we're going to turn the left-hand transformer back on, and we'll just verify real quick. Radio plays. We're back to fully functional again. Click. All right, so now we're going to turn off the right-hand transformer. Same thing, bench power supply up here. We'll turn this off. Clock went away. Okay, so now we have no display. None of the buttons are going to work. None of these are going to work. Nothing. No chime module, not going to click. Nope. Okay, so why did I know that before I even tried? I know that because the way a 3303 is designed, on the board that's right behind the faceplate, that's the microprocessor board. The microprocessor is about right there. And here's the display, and that's on the microprocessor board also. So the microprocessor is connected directly to the display, or everything that shows up on the display comes directly from the microprocessor. There is nothing between here and here. There's just circuit board traces that connect the two together. So when I turned the transformer off and the display went dark and the numbers went away, that tells me immediately that the microprocessor board is not turned on anymore. And if the microprocessor board is not turned on, then none of these buttons are going to do anything, because these buttons are also all on the microprocessor board, and if it's turned off, it's turned off. It's not going to do anything. The microprocessor is now, it's not even asleep. It's actually just disconnected, turned off, not powered on. It's off. And with it, so you turn the brain off, nothing works. So there you go. So odds are, in Donald's case, we'll turn this back on, and there's our clock, and the radio plays. In Donald's case, he had a problem with the left-hand transformer. So again, for all intents and purposes, it appears as if everything should be working, but you have no sound. So now we know, we've answered the question. What happens on a NuTone IM or IMA3303 master station if you lose one of the two transformers? Now we know what happens. So we've answered a question in that small little 5% of things that go wrong with NuTone intercoms for 3303s. If you found this interesting and helpful, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube, because that helps us just a little bit. There'll be a banner right here that shows you how to subscribe. Go to our YouTube homepage, click on the bell, and when you click on the bell, click on it to receive all notifications, and every time we post a new video, you'll get a notification and you can watch it. That's all for today. See you on the next video.